So I am joined today by Felipe from Rosa's Thai Cafe. Hello, Felipe.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Actually, in Thai, Sawadee Kap.
Oh my God, yes! Sawadee Kap.
Sawadee Kap.
Sawadee Kap.
I hope the people who are watching are proud of my Thai. Did I do it justice?
I travelled around Southeast Asia and I couldn't get the lingo. Like, I just couldn't. Everywhere you went, they were like, you keep saying the wrong thing because there's a male and there's a female version of everything.
Yes.
And obviously, I kept on saying the female version. So
you're gender fluid. It's fine.
Everywhere I went, I was like, they were like, yeah, no, that's the wrong thing. And I'm like, yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me on HIREside Chat. It's so good to like be doing these side talks and side chats, I call them, with people in the industry, just to an insight into different people's worlds. So let's start off, and I'll stop talking, with introducing who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Felipe Chavez. Originally from Colombia. So I work in Rosa's Thai Cafe. It's a Thai restaurant chain for people who haven't heard about it. Very, very authentic, very current. I am the recruitment manager for the company. And also I am an artist as well. So just living the double life.
Juggling things. He's juggling.
Juggling, exactly.
Okay. Okay, so tell us a bit more about your journey. So from where you were born to where you are now.
All the way from then, yes.
Give us the whole history. I've got my tea, I'm ready.
Okay, so yes, from Colombia. I arrived from Colombia under 10 years ago. So I've been here for just under a decade.
Wow.
To be honest, my Spanish has deteriorated quite fast, actually. It's quite crazy when you don't have it with you all the time.
And you haven't got an accent at all. Like you wouldn't have thought that you didn't grow up here. You haven't got like I always think of it sounds really bad, but I always think of Sofia Vergara.
Yeah.
And her Colombian accent in Modern Family, and always like I can't do the accent, but I just always think of that.
That's my mother. That is literally my mother. Yes. I know. I think I'm just good at accents in general. I probably don't actually sound like this. I probably do sound like Antonio Banderas. But yes, I've adapted well.
Yeah.
So I arrived when I was around 17. And then I came here initially just to pursue a career in architecture. But I kind of just enjoy the artsy side of art as opposed to the numbers and the maths, because no, I'm not good at maths. And slowly my family's never been good financially, so I knew that as soon as I arrived to London I would have had to start working. And actually the first thing that I started working, my first ever job was as a waiter, but it was for an events company. So it wasn't like a restaurant or a pub, it was an events company, which I till today think is the best way to meet people and to make friends.
Yeah.
Because in these events, you constantly work with different people. You never work with the same people in every event. And they always hire really like outgoing, like, bubbly, random people, actors, musicians. So you just end up connecting so quickly with them. And I just loved it. I loved it. And I studied art and design in college. But then I wasn't able really to go to university. So I just thought to focus on what I enjoyed at the time, which was doing events. And I did events for a couple of years, and then I thought that I wanted to progress, and I contacted the HR team of that events company. The event company is called The Spree, by the way. And I said, hey, I just love doing this, and I want to do something different with the company. I want to contribute. And they said that I'll be really good at hiring for people like me, I guess. And that's how my journey in, I guess, recruitment started. And I started recruiting, and at the beginning, it was so weird because I was maybe like 19 and I was in an office space and I had to use Outlook, and I was like, what is this? But I was under really good mentorship, and I was just trying to really good people, because everyone in the office started as well as waiters, so everyone had the same spirit. And then slowly, you know, my boss then left, so I assumed his position. So because an events, like an events staffing agency, I was essentially a resourcing supervisor. That was his role when he stepped away. So that was my role. So it's purely resourcing. And then after that, I was there for like 4 years or something, like a long time. And then I went into internal recruitment, internal event staffing. So I was working for an actual catering company,
Okay.
who was building their own pool of people. Because there's this like idea in catering business to save money, you kind of want to recruit your own staff. But I think after working so long in the events world, it's not always about that. And anyways, I sort of learned a lot about the events world, and I did some really cool stuff actually. I worked at the BAFTAs, the Brits.
Wow.
Yeah, I was staffing people in Monaco, staffing for people in New York. So it was really, really cool. And I just thought that the events world is so crazy. Like you can never have a weekend off. You're always on call.
Yeah.
It was really difficult, really, really difficult. And it really put like a strain into my like personal life because you don't have one.
Yeah.
So it was impossible for me to pursue any type of art during that at all. Like I was just like focused on it 24/7. Like if a waiter was late for an event at 2 a.m, I had to find a way to replace him. Don't know how,
Oh
but
my God,
yeah.
you're preaching to the choir. Like I did event recruitment for
Oh,
way too long.
for
With
who?
for
Really?
Blue Arrow.
Oh, of course.
And I used to work weekends. I used to have to pick up staff sometimes on a Saturday morning and drop them to the events. I used to work late, and I don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it. And at the time, I was like buzzing. So I was like, I'm going to like London Fashion Week. I'm going to
Yeah.
this, I'm going to that, and I'm like telling everyone, yeah, I'm going to London Fashion Week.
Yeah.
I went to this event and this launch, and I was like loving life. And then it clicks. So you're like, okay, I'm literally working all the time. Like this is it. But I wouldn't
It's
say
not glamorous, and
it's
it's not
not
really
glamorous.
glamorous.
You try
Yeah,
and make it
no,
out to people that it's really glamorous. And then
exactly.
you sit down at home and you're like, it's 3 a.m. You've got your laptop out and you're like, this is my life.
Yeah, and I'm booking taxis for 150 people who live in different parts of London. I
Yeah.
mean, madness. So, okay, I'm glad you understand, because it is, if you look back, I'm like, poor me. I don't know how I lived. But what I really enjoyed was the people side. Like, that's the one thing I've always loved about this industry and events or restaurants is the people. You just connect with so many people.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to stick with this industry, but I think it's time for me to do something a bit more stable, I guess. And I got into Be at One, the cocktail bar chain, which really, really developed me into a proper recruiter. Like I understood, from recruitment marketing to ATS systems and inductions and the whole journeys and how the journey affects that person a year later, and planning ahead. It really, really helped me. And because I was part of a very small team, and we just worked together so well that it really, really made me blossom, I guess, in sort of the industry. But unfortunately, companies change and companies get bought out and things happen. But my HR director, people director from Be at One moved to a different company, and she contacted me and said, you really grew in recruitment whilst I was with you. So I thought that it would be amazing to give you the opportunity to now head up recruitment for the new company she was in. And that's Rosa's Thai Cafe. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So
Yeah.
how many, just give me a quick overview. How many employees do you have at Rosa's Thai Cafe?
350 to 400 or so. Yeah.
And how many sites do you have now at Rosa's?
19.
Wow. Okay. And you're still growing.
We're still growing. Yeah. I mean, obviously with this whole current situation, there's a lot of uncertain things, but the bigger plan is yes, continue growing. And the company has such an amazing vision, and I just love the branding behind it. It's so current. It's so cool. And I think that's what I loved about Be At One as well. Like, you go to Be At One and you just go crazy and it's such a party. And in Rosa's, you go there and you really have like a chilled, relaxed afternoon or evening. It's not like formal. The uniform is just a nice branded t-shirt and you wear jeans. So the staff are happy. So it was just really good atmosphere. And yeah, I think if you haven't been, you have to go to a Rosa's night.
I've been a few times. I am a fan. I love Thai, and it's really hard to find good Thai food. And you tend to find that the good places that do Thai are like pubs with like the Thai restaurant on the side of the pub. And I've got one near me, which has an amazing Thai. But when I'm in the city, it's nice to be able to go to Rosa's, because it's genuinely really nice Thai food. It doesn't taste like it's been batch cooked and processed and stuff. It's authentic.
Yeah, and like when I started, I wanted to really make sure I understood the ins and outs of the business, so I knew what to preach really and what to recruit and what the right person was. And the chefs, I mean, they live and breathe Thai food because most of them are Thai.
Yeah.
Like, I've been in catering businesses for so long that I'm used to seeing the chefs never eat what they make because they're just sick of it and they just end up getting McDonald's or something. But these guys, they're so happy to sometimes just go to Tesco, buy some like fresh pork belly and cook something outside the menu just for the staff for that one day. And I think that's so amazing. And they time their breaks so they eat together. It's such a lovely passion for food. And I mean, right now, so we're trying to keep everyone engaged, right? And just keep the positivity going.
Yeah.
So we've come up with some cool challenges to like keep people engaged. And everyone just ends up cooking amazing Thai food, even if you're not Thai, and just showing the recipes to everyone. So yeah, food is like a big thing. So I'm not surprised that you can feel the authenticity.
Yeah. So talk to me how, because obviously you're a recruiter, you're a recruit manager for Rosa's, but obviously the other thing that you juggle is your artwork.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about how the artwork intertwines with your current recruitment work.
Yeah, great question. So as I said before, when I was in the events world, it was practically impossible to do anything art related because I was so busy. But when I started Be At One and I was able to really focus on what recruitment was, and I was then able to find the time to focus on what I was really passionate about and what made me come into the country initially. So yeah, I started painting, and I've always been a bit artistic, but I never really owned into my skills or understood what art was. But being in the city and being surrounded by fellow creatives and galleries everywhere, I just felt really inspired to focus on my art. And then slowly, I sort of developed an aesthetic that people ended up liking. And the first couple exhibitions I did, one of them was for the Royal Society of Painters in Watercolor, and I won one of the main prizes. And that was really like a big morale booster.
Yeah.
That oh my God, I can actually do this. And then I started then selling and then getting some more exhibitions, then connected with some big brands like Nobu Hotel that wanted my artworks in their lobbies. So it was a pretty big deal.
Wow.
And then I got contacted by a couple of galleries, and now I work with a gallery in Miami, a couple in London. So it's really being able to focus on a career properly. Then you're able to separate that slightly and focus on something else. Because I think if you're overwhelmed, then you can't think of anything else. But if you're focused, then you can.
And for people that haven't seen your artwork before, haven't had the pleasure like I have, what would you describe your artwork as? Like, what kind of art is it?
So it's figurative art for sure. So it's like figurative, minimal, contemporary. I know those are really posh, big words, but it's people. I do people. I do mainly self-portraits, and it's just about. I mean, conceptually, it's about how I interact with the space and who I am as a male, gay man in society, in my own space, and projecting. Energies that make you wonder and ponder about things. So it's not always like a fact or a statement, but it's more about exploring with the artist.
Yeah.
It's all black and white as well. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Or at the end of this, we'll put your tags on so people can go and have a look at your art and on your Instagram.
Yeah, go check it out.
But I guess for me, what would you say is your purpose, your why? Like what gets you up at every day, and what's your aim, I suppose?
I think it's to be somebody, to make a difference, that to be remembered, I guess. And I know it sounds very narcissistic, but I think everyone wants that, actually. I think everyone wants to, have their footprint somewhere. And I think I just try to do it with everything I do. Like, if that's in recruitment, and I always, every time I start a new job, the first thing I do is like, what can I change? What can I improve? Yeah.
I'm always getting on that, right, what can I change? Do you know what? It's not because I want to change it. It's more because I like to leave somewhere with an imprint.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you weren't just there to tick a box. Like you were there to improve it. Like I literally remember like entering a job and just hearing like, okay, no, let me just input my things. Yeah, you can totally relate. Yeah, so I think I can see that in everything I do, from my artworks and being different and exhibiting in different places and always come up with something different. The same thing I see in my career. Like, what can I do different? Even if it was like, let me implement an ATS system. That's going to be an amazing thing in recruitment for this business. And I've always wanted to do something different. So yeah, definitely that. And
this is a really random question, it's just come to my head. Do you think that maybe you'd be able to intertwine your artwork with recruitment and people in a way? I don't know how, like you're the artist.
I've always thought of painting a big crowd, maybe. I've always influenced by people, and people is everything I paint and draw. And I recruit for people, so I think there's going to be a link somewhere down the line where I involve them both.
Yeah, you should do a painting for a piece of art for Roses, and then that's your legacy that you leave with Roses, isn't it?
Imagine a giant mural of me just in the head office.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking.
If you won't be able to remember me with this, it will be impossible. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe you just paint something Rosa branded, some stuff like me. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I went the opposite direction. I was like, oh, me naked like that.
Okay. What's your most memorable moment or your biggest achievement, would you say?
Recruitment wise, and like my career in the industry, definitely being handed that torch from my people director to head of recruitment. Like, she trusted me. Like, she left BI, and the one person she remembered was myself, and contacted me to lead her baby. So it was really, really cool. That was very amazing. And that was only recent, that was this year. So it was a lot of pressure, and I still feel the pressure, but it's motivation to keep going and trust my instincts. Yeah. Because that doesn't always happen. Like, you always think you've made a great impression with someone in a company, and then when you move, you'd never talk to them. Or there's many people that I haven't spoken to in a previous company. Is that I'm like, yeah, sure, we're gonna stay in touch now. I'm
literally the worst person. When I was younger, every time I would leave someone, I'd be like, yeah, we'll stay in contact. Obviously, I'll message you all the time.
Have my number.
Yeah.
Yes.
As I've got older, I've realised that you don't need to, like, you feel, as human beings, we feel, and I think as British people, we feel the need to have people lie and be like, yeah, here's my number, stay in contact. Whereas now, if I'm not interested in staying in contact with you, I'm not going to say it.
Yes. I've realised that there's nothing else to talk about with you if it isn't work related.
Yeah, and for those people watching this that I haven't spoken to, I'm sorry.
Same for me. Add me on Instagram and maybe I'll follow you back. Yeah. Yeah.
And what would you say your biggest achievement is with your artwork? Because like you said, you've won loads of awards, you've exhibited in some amazing galleries. What would you say?
Yeah. I think, so this year, a few months ago, I exhibited in Christie's in Green Park. Now, Christie's is this like massive global auction house, which is like top end. And my artwork was literally next to Tracy Emin's painting, and Tracy Emin is like a super known artist, so it was massive. She was even there and everything. But not only that, but it was also because it was the first time I got my art involved in something that was positive. So it was for the Terrace Higgins Trust, and they focus on HIV prevention and awareness. So not only was it in a great place, but it was the first time I was able to be involved with something, you know, like use my art to make a difference, as I keep on saying. So it was just a great way to help someone with my art, and also it's a fantastic opportunity to meet some amazing people. So definitely that is one of the biggest things, for sure.
Oh, amazing. And have you got any more big exhibitions? Well, I was about to ask if you've got any more big exhibitions lined up. Obviously, with COVID-19, we don't know.
But, you know, I've got some things lined up. I think during isolation, I've been able to focus more on my art, actually, you know. Now there's not so much balancing, so I've got more time for my art. So, I've actually been able to line up some interesting plans. I have a small exhibition in July in Ireland, actually, and one in America, and hopefully a really big project at the end of the year. So, hopefully they still happen,
Fingers crossed for you. Okay, so biggest lesson that you've learned in so far in your career, in your life?
Biggest lesson? I'd say to trust my instincts. That if I have an idea, to not really be afraid to speak up. It might be a good one, it might not be a good one, but you never really know until you suggest it. And I mean, as I said before, I come into a business and all I do is try to change things. So I am told sometimes when my ideas aren't good. But I think to trust yourself, and I've been able to do that in my art, you know, to really push the boundaries and be unapologetic and just do whatever I want to show. And in the recruitment industry and hospitality industry, to just give it a go, you know, like I'll call my boss and say, I need to be in this restaurant and work a couple hours as a chef because I want to connect with the head chef there so he can trust me to recruit for his chefs. You know, things like that, that I personally feel make a difference, and I've been able to grow in the industry. So just trust myself, because there's a reason why you are where you are now. Yeah.
I like that. Trust yourself. And I think it's as well, like with recruitment, we're both recruitment managers, and I think so many people think that you've got a magic wand. So I get operators or operations managers going, when are you going to find me someone for this place? Like, Junior, I'm desperate. When is someone going to start? And I'm like, it's just not as simple as me just going, oh, voila, here's your chef, and he's trained and he's ready to go. He can start tomorrow. And I think that's a lesson that I've definitely learned along the way. And do you think that there's I don't know what I'm trying to get at anymore. I've lost my question. I've lost it.
No, but I totally understand. Like, you think that you can just fix any problem as a manager, and also you're the foundation of the business, right? Like, without you recruiting people, there's no one really to do the job, right? And if someone comes to you and says, you know, when am I going to have a chef, you know, and you to be rational enough to say, actually, you're not going to have it by the end of this weekend, you will have it by next week, but let's work together to find a solution. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it's trusting that, because initially when someone says it to you, you want to go, oh my God, I'll get something for you tomorrow, or get something for you. But then it's actually trusting yourself and knowing, well, actually, I know that I'm not going to be able to get something for you by tomorrow or next week, but let's work together and let's figure out how we're going to get someone, and let's not make ridiculous assumptions that we're going to pick someone off the street. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And also, Wes, when you don't feel overwhelmed, that you're able to think clearly. You know, there's been times when I was like, okay, I won't be able to have somebody for the end of the weekend, but have you tried doing this? Let's really brainstorm here. You know, I have you in front of me now, so let's brainstorm some ideas what we can do. Let's think outside the box. You know, there's only so much money I can put behind this advert, but what things can you do, and what things can I help you with? You know, do you need me to design a poster that you can put up somewhere? You know, like let's brainstorm, instead of you just, as you said, agreeing like, yes, leave it with me, and then when it doesn't happen, then you feel the pressure. So it's just trusting yourself in your ideas, because it eventually will work. And we've both been in the industry for a long time. You know that they can survive for weekends if they have to, and it doesn't mean you're not working hard. It just means that it just takes a bit of time.
Yeah, and I think as you grow within the role, I mean, at the beginning, don't get me wrong, I used to say things and I'd be like, don't necessarily know if I believe in what I've just said, but we'll see how it goes. And now when I say stuff, I say it with this, like, I'm assertive with my ideas, and I'm like, this is the idea, this is what we're going with. And I think you just learn to grow as time progresses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just learn to be more rational. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And what would you say is your biggest thing, like the biggest, I don't want to say regret, but like what's the one thing you've learned along the way about yourself, like personal development wise?
That's about myself. I think the staying in contact thing is probably one. Like I wish I would have stayed in contact with more people, but it's also something impossible to do with everyone that you come across with. But it's something I sometimes stop and think, that person that I used to spend, 9 to 5 every day for like years and years with this person. Now, 5 years later, we have an exchange of words. And I think thinking that makes you feel a bit sad, really, that you kind of want to get in contact and reach out. So that's probably the one thing that I've learned, that though it's impossible, you just can't really help yourself. But also, nothing's stopping you from reaching out also. So nothing's stopping you from putting that one step and maybe saying a hello, even if you don't have a full-on conversation, just like knowing that you both are still there helps each other, I think.
Okay,
I'll answer the question.
I'm going to task us both with, after this, to go out and message one person from our history, from our past that we used to work with, and start a conversation. And do you know what? It's mental health. I think so. It's Mental Health Awareness Week, and that is spreading some kindness. Saying hello to someone you haven't said hello to in ages is like such an amazing thing to do, and so nice and kind. As long as obviously you left it in a good state.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or else they're probably blocked. Yeah.
Okay, so who inspires you? Who do you look up to?
Who do I look up to? Who do I look up to? I think obviously there's like two sides. I mean, artistically, I get inspired by some fantastic painters from the past, like Egon Schiele and Francis Bacon. But I mean, career-wise, I remember being in Esprit, being in my first job, starting that office for the first time, and really looking up to the manager that I had at the time. I think he really changed my perspective, gave me so much confidence. And I've always wanted to be a manager like he was to me when I started. His name's Dan Hopche. Oh my God, he's so going to see this. So hello. He is a South African, Swedish, German, Canadian American guy. I think I did that right. And he was just so funny. Like, he was just funny. You more than anyone, understand how tedious it can be sometimes, cold calling CVs. Like, right, just constantly pitching.
It's intense. Hated it. Hate it.
But you got to do it. You got to do it sometimes. So, and it was my first job, and I was like, oh my God, is this really what I'm going to be doing 9 to 5? And he just made the answer is yes. Of my life. And it is. There's only so much small talk I can do, and he just made it fun. Like, I remember him giving me the lyrics to "My Heart Will Go On" from Celine Dion, and saying, "Incorporate these lyrics into your next call." And I was like, "Yeah, I can." So he just did little things like that. Just made it so much more fun, and it was events. So I know how stressed he was, being responsible for getting 100 people by next weekend for this one party. So I know how stressful it would have been. And also I was in his position later, so I understood. But he was just always positive, always happy, and just always just full of energy. I don't know where he got it from, but he just came up with some really cool ideas. And I think that's what inspired me to pursue it. And now, I think of, okay, what would Dan do to just make this a bit more fun? Like, it doesn't always have to be intense. And I know we have deadlines and we're opening this restaurant, but in between those times, like, what can we do so you can enjoy it? Because if you can enjoy it, then you do it better.
Yeah, and do you know what? I really like that, and I think it's a really fantastic take home. It's like life is too. I always say life is too short, and never to take things too seriously. And sometimes when things are getting really tough, it's just so nice to think of ways to inject a little bit of fun and
Yeah.
humour into a situation. I
Even if you're
try.
calling hundreds of CVs
Yeah,
constantly,
exactly.
yeah.
Like I try to do it sometimes, but it depends on what mood and what day of the week it is. But I think it's really important to like to stay smiling. Like I always say, you should always smile because it makes the day go by so much quicker.
Yeah, and like in assessment days, you're going to meeting so many people, but for that one person looking for the job, they don't know that, and you shouldn't seem like you have been talking to hundreds of people, right? You just
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
make that good impression at every time. You're the ambassador, the face of the business when you meet this person. So why not just smile? Because they'll enjoy it. And I've always said in recruitment, a lot of these people will put the extra effort if they connect with you. Like I've always said it, like if you're having a call and even if it takes a longer the time to talk to them about the business, but you've had 10 minutes of just talking about random things and you've connected, they're going to put that extra effort to go to that interview or to do well in that trial shift or come to the assessment center.
Yeah.
I've always said, or else they just see you or else they think that you are to them just another number. And you never want that. You want them to really feel like you're part of the family. So I've always said it, you have to keep that positivity and always channel that forward.
Yeah, and I think candidate experience is so important. And I think the whole process from interviewing to onboarding, if that candidate has that an amazing experience with you as the recruiter, they will end up staying longer, and you'll retain that employee for so much longer. And so I think it's really important to treat candidates how you would want to be treated. And back in the day, I used to apply for loads of jobs, and as my name isn't Junior, my real name is Olajide. I experienced a lot of, of, of things that shouldn't be experienced, and I was treated in a lot of ways that made me realise that if I'm in that position, their position of being able to have the power to treat candidates how they should be treated, I want to make sure and ensure that the candidates have the most amazing experience.
Yeah,
it's so important.
And like years after, like I'm the type of person that's going to work from the restaurant mainly. Like I'm not going to be in the office that many times, even though I'm just recruiting, right? Because I like seeing these people that I've recruited and seeing them enjoy their time there. And so in BF1, because I've only been in Rosa Cafe for under 6 months, but in BF1 I was there for a few years, and in BF1 they used to do a annual party every year, and it was called the All-Star Party. And I remember I started the day before the party. So in the party, I didn't know anybody. But a year later, I had recruited like 80% of these new staff members. And some of them, absolutely cherished the company so much that they were so grateful for me to have given them the opportunity.
Yeah.
That I went into that also party feeling like a celebrity, because I was like, hey, yeah, you're welcome. It was just amazing. It was so amazing. And I'm still in contact with so many of them, so many of the bartenders, even barbacks. Like I connected with so many of them. And that's the other thing, like from kitchen porters to managers, like it's so special to keep that connection with them, no matter what position there is, how long that conversation was, but always try to connect with everyone that you recruit, for sure.
And just thinking about your art and the work you do with your paintings, do you connect with the people that buy your art? Do you stay in contact with people that purchase your art?
Oh my God, you literally just gave me a revelation. That's such a great comparison. That's so interesting because
I'm a really good host. I'm a really good talk show host. Just call me
VH1.
Just call me Oprah. Call me Oprah.
Oh wow, yes, I will. You get GPK. You get
You get a car.
I would say so. My husband tells me all the time, why are you still in contact with them? It should just be like a transaction. Like, why do they keep messaging you? And So my husband is not creative at all. He doesn't quite understand how intimate my artworks are. So for someone to connect with it in a way so strong for them to purchase them, is so special. And I've realized that every time someone buys my work, it's because they've connected with it in a very intimate and personal level. So they want to hear more. They want to know what I'm doing with this, why I do it, and stay connected. And so many times have I been invited to dinners and, you know, cheese tasting and just going to their home, and just for me to see the painting now up on their wall. It's so amazing. So yes, I connect with them so much, and because I'm constantly evolving, and I think they like seeing that too. Like the way that they bought an artwork, let's say 2 years ago, to where I am now, they're like, oh my God, I want to have one of those new ones as well. And I've got people who've been buying my work for the last 3 years that I haven't actually met because they're in America, actually, in this random place in America, who still stay in contact with me, even through emails. And they say, you know, what have you been up to? And we talk about their kids and everything. It's so cool, actually, because you make friends through something that's so personal. Because I think at work, sometimes it just feels like work, right? And you're connecting and it's just work. But when you sort of blur that line and forget about that, and you do that with art as well, like it's not just someone sending you money, it's actually someone that really cares about you, and you sort of just connect more deeper with everyone. Yeah.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you can take an experience, the way you work within the recruitment world and the way you work within your artwork, and it kind of intertwines. It's all about people, isn't it? At the end of the day, we're people, as corny as it sounds. And I think, even if I was to do something on the side of what I'm doing now, it would be related to people, because that's just at the core of what I.
What would you do? Have you thought of what you would do?
You're not interviewing me, I'm interviewing you.
Where's my tea?
I've got a couple of ideas that up my sleeve. I just need to find, I don't know, I'm an ideas person, so I have like 1,001 ideas, and they come to my head all the time, and I'll call up one of my friends and I'll be like, oh my God, this idea, or this idea, or this idea, and I'll be like, yeah, do it, Julie, yeah, do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then it doesn't really ever come out and do it. I don't ever do anything. Do you know, when I was in school, I think when I was like 14, maybe 13, I had a little book, and I said to my mum and dad, I want to open my own restaurant. It's my dream to open my own restaurant. And my mum was like, you need to go to university and study law, or study medicine, because that's what they tell their kids.
Law. Why law?
Go to school and study law or medicine. And I just kept on writing stuff in this book, and writing ideas, and writing like the name of it, the menu. And as I grew older, this book just evolved. Don't ask me where the book is anymore. I have no idea.
Oh no! I thought you were gonna say you had it like cherished somewhere and like saved.
It is somewhere, but it's somewhere like in one of my boxes. But so that was always been my dream, is to open my own restaurant. But now, as I've got older, and now I see that the restaurant world is actually quite saturated. It's not something that I'm that keen on doing anymore.
Oh no!
But the reason I brought that book up is just because I have like another book with all of my ideas, and I think one day I'll hopefully pick an idea up and it will actually turn into something. But right now, I'm just all about throwing all the ideas into a piece of paper and then seeing what happens eventually. Just take each day as it comes, really.
Yeah, then edit and find the best one, and then be a millionaire. Yeah.
And like, I sometimes feel like I trust and believe in fate, and like when the moment arises, that's the right time to pick up that idea and go, oh yeah, this is the idea I had back in 2020. It's now ready to go in 2030. I'd be like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, anyway, enough about me. So when things get hard, or you need someone to shape you, who do you speak to?
I go to my husband mainly to kind of give me a slap when stress, in the most PG way possible.
I was just thinking about that.
too much. I said before, he's not creative at all, and he's not Colombian, which means he's not fiery like I am and crazy, because comparing myself to Sawyer O'Gara isn't wrong. You know, I can get very intense sometimes because I'm full of ideas and I just want to do everything. So it gets quite overwhelming, and he's always the one that's more rational and says, actually, let's break this down. What can you do? What can't you do? So he really does help me just focus, actually, you know, and him not being creative has helped so much. I think if I was with someone creative, it would just be drama.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad he isn't, and that he has a job that's very, actually, I'm very helpful. He's really good at Excel. Like, he's helped me with so there's been times when we haven't had an ATS in my previous companies. He's literally built one with Excel formulas.
Oh, wow.
He's amazing. He's honestly amazing at Excel. That's his like passion. I think it's his passion. He's just really good at Excel. So I think that's another good thing that I always go to, because if I want to create something impressive for my boss, I'll go to Pete to help me build it. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cute. I like that. I like that a lot. And what would you tell? What's the like piece of advice that you would give your younger self? Like, if you look back at yourself when you were like, I don't know, let's pick an age, 13, 14, 15, 16. One of those, what would you tell yourself as a piece of advice?
I would say to keep on challenging myself and to keep on pushing, to just not be afraid of speaking up, because as I said before, instincts coming into play and trusting yourself is what's really helped me. And I think if I knew sooner, then I would be even better, and I wouldn't have had so many breakdowns, I guess, in the past.
Yeah.
So definitely that. But again, me slowly developing that understanding of instinct and self-awareness has shaped me to who I am now. So I don't know, but I think if I knew sooner, because I was raised by my grandmother, because my parents were in London, so I was raised with my grandmother in Colombia up until 17. Then I came to live with my parents. So I was alone a lot of the times, and I wasn't quite sure where I was going, what I was going to do, because I didn't really have anyone to talk to apart from my sisters. So being able to go back in time and speak to myself and say, I know it looks a bit messy now, and that you don't really know who to look up to, you will eventually, and just trust yourself for the time being. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's a very good answer. Okay,
Thank you.
Final question, I guess for me would be, what would you say? There's people out there that are super creative, but don't know how to start off or where to go. What would you recommend? What would you suggest? What would your advice be for those creative people out there who don't know where to start or how to get going?
I think the main thing is, how passionate are you for this, and how do you really want to dedicate some time to it? Because I think you have to really enjoy it. You have to have a lot of passion for it to pursue it, even if you're doing it on the side.
Yeah,
you have to have a passion for it to continue doing it. So I think firstly, just understand that and like tell yourself, I want to do it, and I am passionate about it. And then once you are, and if you want to take it to a more professional level, then realize that it's not just about having a talent for it or learning a new skill, but if you want to really succeed and pursue it, then you have to treat it as a business sometimes. That this passion that you have, for you to be successful at it, you have to be able to market it properly, and understand what you need to do to become successful at it. I think passion and a business hat are the two main things I think you need. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if people want to catch your artwork, where can they have a look at your art?
I mean, I've got everything. Business cards. You can check my Instagram mainly. That's where everything is. So just _ Felipe Chavez. Put everything in there, actually everything. Or just find me in one of the Thai restaurants. I'll probably be either eating pad thai, or you know what's actually, if you're going to Rosa's Thai, have a prawn pad thai. You just have to have a pad thai if you go to a Thai restaurant. Prawn pad thai, or have the pork skewers.
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, you've had them?
Yeah, the pork skewers are insane. So I always actually have a prawn pad thai, the pork skewers, and normally some sort of curry. My favourite curry is a massaman curry, like a chicken massaman.
Yeah, that's nice.
Love it.
Mild.
Huh?
Mild.
Okay.
I mean, like, the Thais love their spice, and they have some very spicy dishes. And they actually, funny enough, if you're Thai and you order Thai in Rosa's Thai, that's a lot of Thais, you will get the actual authentic level of spice expected. But if you're just like me or you and you go into the chefs and like, oh, can you make me something? They'll do it the most mild way possible, which will still be a little bit spicy, but they will tone it down. But I've eaten with Thais, and it's a whole different game. It's a whole different level. It's so spicy.
The next time I go into Rosa, I'm going to be like, can you cook me this dish like I'm a Thai person, please?
Yes, do that. Oh my God, I challenge you. Please do that.
Yeah, I will. I 100% will. Well,
have the papaya salad too. There's a green papaya salad.
I don't like
That's amazing.
papaya.
Oh. Have it anyways. It's amazing.
I will give it a go. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit and chat. Like, this has actually been really fun, and I've just really enjoyed getting to know you more. And
thank you for having me. This is fun.
I know. Thanks for joining me on my sofa. No.
Thanks for making me iron my shirt.
That's okay. And I will add all your tags in at the end of the show. And yeah, have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you. You too. Say hello to the plants for me.
I will. Speak to you later.
Bye.